Quit eating, folks, 30 seconds to showtime. Grab your seat, leave your drinks to the bar. Hold your breath, put your hands together. We present Stanford Bay's finest star, who has danced with the Mayor of New Guinea, who has dined with the Queen of Vermont. We trace the voyages of Sinbad, corresponded with the men who can't love us to be. C'est pas la même chose que la vache qui rit. La vache est pas mon ami.
And hello, my name is Geoff with the G, and welcome to the G Spot. Who you've got going with me? I've got right there next to me on my left for on the screen is I got the inimitable and wonderful Todd Robbins. How are you doing, Mr. Robbins or Todd? Or
I'm fine. I'm Todd. Yeah, okay. my dad was Mr. Robbins, and he's dead. So
okay. I try to be polite. Oh, there you go.
There we go. Now we're started. Now we're warmed up.
There you go. All right. So how has it been going for you in this nice, fun, weird, I guess, pandemic time?
Well, you know, I did a show off Broadway a couple years ago called Carnival Knowledge.
Yes.
There was a theme that ran through it. It was all about my experience of working sideshows in places like Coney Island. And I had this theme running through it that hopefully people will take away a little something from the whole experience and be able to say they're with it. And I talked about the little phrase, with it, for it, never against it, that Carnival people have used from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And, you know, at the end of the show, I said, you know, you're now with it. And the encore of the show was a thing called the Balloon Barrage, in which we gave out these balloons, inflated balloons that were known as 360s. They're 3 inches diameter and 60 inches long, like the twisty animal balloons, but thicker, look like salamis.
Okay.
I showed people how to launch them, how to shoot them like rockets, aim them and fire them. And then I said, but you know, this is all about chaos, because that's one thing that Carnival people understand is chaos. Their life is nothing but chaos. It's all the chaos you can eat. And you have to develop a certain flexibility if you want to be in this business, certain flexibility that allows you to take whatever comes your way, turn around, and send it right back out again. And so we had a little primer for the mayhem, the bedlam they were going to encounter sooner or later when they left the theater, with this balloon barrage. Okay. And so this is a great example of it. It is, you know, all bets are off. Who knows what's coming next? How we're going to get out of this? And you know, it's been fine. We're, you know, the irony of it is, you know, people are saying, "Oh, New York City, oh my goodness, oh, I don't want to be there," but we've been fine. We've been absolutely fine. We've had toilet paper. You know, we have hand sanitizer. We've never run out, and it's at the corners. So I, you know, put on a mask and walk 2 doors down and get my bagel and coffee in the morning. Mm-hmm. And it's been fine. It's been a little weird with my 12-year-old son learning at home and all that, but you know, we're surviving, we're thriving, and it's kind of led me into a couple of interesting new endeavors, and there's even more that's coming up. Oh, and you, I mean, where exactly are you? Where are you located?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Ah, yes, which is, if you're going to be in Texas, Austin is the place to be.
Austin is really good. Houston's. I used to live in Houston, and Houston's another really good, it's another very good hip place that people forget about all the time too.
Yeah, I have some friends in Frisco, Texas that
I know Frisco very well.
Yeah, it's close enough to Dallas, but
yeah, it's
far enough away. So. And Austin is this little oasis in the craziness. But you know, the stuff that's going on in Texas.
Oh man, you have no idea. it's like super crazy.
I'll take over the show next week if you know things go south. I'll be more than that.
I have a lot of friends, including there's some people in the chat already. So there's one of our longtime watchers is Drama Freak 83. She actually lives in the New York area. She works I think she works a lot of backstage stuff, and she said she has seen Carnival Knowledge and absolutely loved it. So, and then Hot Todd Lincoln, from the Baltimore area, is actually in the chat as well. So,
well, that's his fine. He's a good guy, and he has a great first name.
Yeah, Hot. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, no, that wasn't. The irony of it is that my great grandmother was like Abraham Lincoln's second cousin. So,
oh wow.
So I'm Todd Lincoln also. So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a challenging time, and the thing about it is you kind of look at what you have and what you do and put it all together. And a lot of people have been doing Zoom shows. You've got all the kind of stuff on the Cabin Fever feed there, and it's not really for me. I mean, there's a lot of folks in the magic world that are doing Zoom performances and things like that, and it's fine. It's great. But it doesn't appeal to me. I like things a little more presentational, and when you try to replicate a live experience back and forth, it's not quite the same. I have kind of compared this to the early days of cinema. Had vaudeville, the big splashy thing. Every theater, every town had at least one vaudeville house, and sometimes the bills changed twice a week, so you could go for next to nothing and see great live performers and stuff. And then movies came in, and when they first started, if you look at the early stuff, even the best of the early stuff, people like Charlie Chaplin and D.W. Griffith, that were kind of breaking ground. For the most part, it wasn't comparable to live. It was a poor imitation of live, and that's kind of how I feel we are right now with so much of the online stuff. I mean, this is great, because otherwise, who knows when we ever meet face to face and have this conversation.
That's in a weird sort of way, that's like the one good thing, or at least for me, is that it gives me the opportunity to have conversation. It's like I wouldn't be able to. The great thing about this sort of stuff is we're having to go online, and so Sideshow, what's been slowly going away has been largely regional, and so the fact is like Sideshow or all sorts. So it's all territorial, if you want to go like old school wrestling terms too. That the internet is allowing all these kind of it's becoming less regional, it's supposed to be more global or at least national, so we can have these conversations, and then whenever the world gets kind of right again, we'll know somebody we'll truly know somebody in that town to do stuff with.
And it's hopeful that this won't go away. It'll be folded into whatever happens if and when live comes back, and we'll have a sort of expansion. It's very much like back, it was in the 80s, and then it happened again in the 90s. There was a writer's strike on TV, and the networks had to adapt. And one of the things they did is they developed a thing called reality TV, because there was no scripting. Now, there was no scripting, there was structuring. There was a difference, and that producers had a heavy hand in taking like Big Brother and stuff like that and mixing things around so it made good TV. You just didn't they tried just turning TV channel, a live feed on, letting it happen, and boring as hell. So they started manipulating, and it's funny because a lot of the writers that lost their jobs because everything went on strike and shows shut down became producers, and they used their ability to write, to structure things, and scripted TV came back, but reality stayed. So it's very possible that there will be some sort of hybrid thing going on, because I find that it's ironic. Years ago, when I do publicity for various shows, like various things I'd be doing, the ones that did the most in terms of selling tickets was radio, going on and doing Sideshow on the radio. And it seems to make no sense whatsoever. But what it did is it diminished the experience just by, first off, you go on like the Z Morning Zoo with Crazy Man and his crazier cohorts. And you hammer nail into your nose, and they all are screaming and laughing, and people at home like, what's going on? And they'll describe what's going on, and then people at home are laughing, but they feel a little left out. They're in the other room. To be in that room. So it always sold a lot of tickets because, and doing the same routine that I did on the radio, but doing it live, now people can see what the whole effect is. So I think this is going to do that. You're going to see people in this dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's actually going to help sell tickets to live events.
Well, that's I do another show on the network called The Devil's Hour, and that's all I do is I showcase like various acts. Like I just show their videos and I throw their tip link on the thing. Speaking of tips, it's a very similar thing. And I used to do that live where I bring in different types of acts together because I wanted to blend things together anyway. So
Sure.
I basically that's what I. But like somebody goes, well, what happens when everything goes back to normal? I said, well, I go, if anything, I'm still going to do that show because I'll still be showcasing stuff that you're not going to see down the street regardless, so it's still a different sort of thing for you. But also if they do happen to be coming to town, like where I live or where you're going to live, I go, hey, they're touring and they'll be here, go check them out. So I think that sort of thing will happen. And with the internet, internet is the new radio, for lack of a better term, for that sort of stuff. So I think it's going to grow and be bigger and better. It's going to be a weird hybrid. I think the people who don't adapt are the ones who are going to suffer more than anything.
Yeah. Well, there's so many people that are just kind of sitting around going, well, it'll come back. It'll come back. What we had before will come back. And you go, well, okay. And what if it doesn't? What if it comes back in an altered form that is not conducive to what you do? What are you going to do? So, I mean, I had a lovely, lovely show in New York called Speakeasy Magic.
Okay.
And it was at the McKittrick Hotel, which is not a hotel. It's a theatrical venue. It's an old warehouse. It was taken over a decade ago and made into the venue for an immersive theater show, the big immersive theater show called Sleep No More. And it's a haunted house for adults. I mean, Sleep No More is a 3-hour experience. Everyone puts on masks. No one talks. Mm-hmm. All the scenes basically telling a noir version of Macbeth. Oh, good luck. The story of Macbeth, but told like 1930s, 40s, like it's a noir movie. But the performers, for the most part, don't speak, and it's all done in dance and very movement.
Okay.
And it goes there, and it's 5 floors, 100,000 square feet of hallways and rooms and environments. And they rove around, and you're in a mask, you don't talk, and if you go with someone, you're going to get separated because there's 400 of you that's partaking in this, and everyone has a different experience. Mm-hmm. So I knew the producers. I wanted to do some things with them, and we got talking one day, and we came up with the idea of doing a magic show at this place because they had a lovely lounge called the Club Car, lovely old saloon with a stage and tables and the whole thing. And we came with the idea of doing a close-up magic show. Okay. And I would welcome everyone on stage and kind of explain what's going to happen a little bit. And then there'd be a little act on stage that would do a thing, and people didn't quite know what was going to be going on. They had no reference point for it. And the place would go black, and then the lights would come up on the table, pin spots on every table, and a magician would be sitting there and do a 12-minute set, 15-minute set of close-up magic at the table. And then they get up, and then another person sits down and does their routine, and there are things happening on stage and surprises all over the thing. So, 2 hours later, you walk out of there, and the place just buzzes with energy because they've had this great meal of amazement laid out. And it was wonderful. And it violates every rule that we are now living by. You had 100 people crammed into a room, sitting side by side at these tables that look like poker tables. There were 9 of them. And they're taking cards, they're signing, they're putting back in, they're handing things around, they're talking. Now we were just this glorious dinosaur that was just looking up in the sky as the meteor was coming at us. So, and everyone was paid well, and it was the sexiest, most sophisticated magic show, around, and March 16th.
Yeah.
Thank you. See you soon. And, we're still waiting. So there's some people that are kind of standing around going, to come back. They'll take everyone's temperature and everyone will be in a mask and maybe we'll have to do magic and can't put cards in people's hands. I'm like, okay, yeah, good, fine, yeah, maybe, hopefully, well, great, love it. I'd love to get back to that. But what if? So, I kind of answered a question for myself and have sort of jumped on YouTube, and I'm doing a whole slew of stuff.
I am absolutely in love with everything you're doing on YouTube right now. You're This Day. I watch it every day. I did, like, because the Devil's Hour is on Wednesdays, and when I knew you were going to be on the show, so I actually did your Wednesdays. I showed the Wednesdays thing there to go, hey, so this is who I'm going to have on the show. I didn't say who you were until I started playing it, and everybody goes, oh my god. So, but yeah, no, I watch it every day. Like without fail. I can't wait for August 18th because that's my birthday, so I can't wait to watch whatever that is going to be. So,
that's interesting because that's the second most evil day of the year. The most evil day is August 15th, which is my birthday. So,
there we go. Hey, that's good to know.
So I'll tell you what, we'll start drinking on my birthday, and then
don't stop until mine. That's fine. I'll have to talk to my friend. I have a friend who owns a whiskey company, and so he gets me stocked in whiskey. If you like whiskey, I can see about sending some up to you.
Sure. What kind of whiskey?
It's out of Texas. They do a nice. It's a corn base, really smooth. With this right here is what I love. Great. It's really nice and smooth. I'll make bourbons. They do a bourbon as well. It's just that it's not ready yet. Because they just moved facilities, so it just takes time. But the special reserve is really nice and smooth, so that's what I'm drinking right now.
Yeah, it works for me.
And then we'll start basically it's like I'll figure out a way. We'll do the thing on, hey, we're getting certain drinking, and like we'll see what we look like the 18th. Going over.
Exactly. that was the fun thing about Speakeasy Magic is that they wanted this very sophisticated speakeasy style feel to it, and though it was very clear it was 2019 2020 where the show was happening, we weren't doing a hey guys and gals and this is the bee's knees. We weren't doing that. Everything was here and now. I had a little kind of a weird little vibe that you just wondered how long I've been in the building, but I could play that note, that kind of creepy note, as the host of the thing. And but it was, you walked in there and everyone's setting up everything and they're walking around, the producer walking around and say, oh, and here, drink tickets. Like, what? So yeah, you have a drink in your hand. Why, if you drink. And it's like, oh, danger, Will Robinson, danger. This is too good. And they're paying us well. We're doing what we do and love. Best people have paid a fortune to be in the room with us, and we get free drinks. And of course it didn't last.
Oh, no, it never does. That's why.
We did, But what the hell? What a glorious time! A Camelot. That's sort of what we had there. So anyway, I've jumped over and I asked myself a lot of questions about what I would want to do on YouTube, and so the three things. There's actually more than that, but the three right now. And one is I did a TV show called True Nightmares. It was on
so good. It's such a good series. When I watched it, it's several years ago, and at the time, I was not involved in the business at all. My late wife was really into the true crime stuff, which is why I ended up watching it. And so it didn't dawn on me until last year that I go, oh wait, it's that guy. Because I started to hang out getting into the sideshow stuff, and so
where that came from was Discovery Studios, the production arm of Discovery Communications. I got a email one day from the director of development saying, hey, we're thinking about doing some sort of a sideshow thing. We don't know what. We want to do a sideshow project. And we've done our research, and your name comes up all over the place. And so can we talk? And I said, sure. Went down to DC, to Silver Spring, to Discovery, and sat down with him, and we talked. And shot some footage, sizzle reel, and no one wanted it. And it was remarkable because he was not only doing this in-house for all the Discovery, but he was going outside, and he'd go to a network and say, hey, we've got this thing, it's the sideshow. And they went, oh no, sideshow's too dark. And they go, wait a minute, your hit show is about 18-wheeler truck drivers on icy roads that drive off the road and die. And the sword swallow, yeah, it's too dark. And then he would go somewhere else and they'd say, sideshow. Oh no, sideshow's too dark. Too dark. Your hit show is about people who do deep sea fishing, commercial fishing, and they die. And the bearded lady, yeah, it's too dark. We can't he said, okay, fine. So he came back to me after trying to sell it for a year and said, we can't sell it. Is there anything else you do? And at that time, I had done a show off Broadway called Play Dead. And where that had come from, I'd done the sideshow show off Broadway, Carnival Knowledge. We had a nice run with that, did some regional theaters with it, and then it sort of dried up. And I was looking at other projects, and I always wanted to do a seance show, so I started playing around with ideas, and a producer came on board, a guy who produced Stomp, the rhythmic show. It's been around for 400 years. And I was playing with some ideas, workshopping stuff, and he says, you need a director, and we talked to guys in New York, and New York theater is really pretentious. I mean, it's just, there was one guy who, when he spoke, he said, oh, you're doing magic, you're doing performance. Well, I do theater. And when I direct, it's like he was saying, when I direct a show, when I do Shakespeare, there is no cancer in the world.
Theater degree right here. I know all those guys.
My Chekhov Middle East piece. When I do a production of Chekhov, there's a piece in the Middle East, and it's no world hunger. No world hunger. Yes. And so when he walked out, I was like, oh my God. He was so condescending. And the producer was like, yeah, I don't care. I have the most successful performance show that's ever been created, and it's made me multi-million dollars. I don't care what they think. And I think this is going to be a good show. He says, is there anyone that we can talk to that you think would be a good director? And I said, yeah, Teller, of Penn and Teller.
Oh, yes. He's actually, I've heard nothing but good things about him being a director. So, yeah.
He's extraordinary. He's frustrating as hell because he is a perfectionist. And we will be working on something, and he'll say, well, let's do it again, and let's move the prop here.
Oh, he gets all Kubrick on it, huh?
No, how about if it's over here? No. Okay, fine. We rehearse it again. He goes, no, I think it should be forward a little bit. Okay. And then we do it, and we do it like 30 times, and then one of two things would happen. At 29th time, I want to kill him. We do it the 30th time, and he either says, oh yeah, it was best when right back where we started, and I'm going to kill him. Or as like, we've done it 29 times. Doing here is not going to help. Oh fuck, that makes it perfect. So I'm going to use some language like.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay, it would be perfect. Like, damn you, damn you. But he's a very good friend, and we enjoyed the creative process with him, and. So I had done this, and the show turned out so well that we decided to shoot the thing mostly as an archive. So because we knew we were going to do it again as the off-Broadway was coming down. Mm-hmm. It's a very incredibly complex show, technically incredibly complex. And it would look simple. It looked like bare stage, a bunch of boxes, mm-hmm. a table or two, and I'm just talking and telling stories about, people, some good, some not so good. They all had a relationship with death, telling their stories, and they kind of come back to life. Okay. Very spooky and disturbing ways. And it scared the shellac out of people. So we ended up shooting everything, and then Teller looked at the footage that we were going to use for the archives and said, this actually would make a decent film, like a concert film. So he sent it to an editor, and he cut it and made this little film. And unfortunately, the designers want an arm and a leg to sign off on it. The lights, the set, sound designer. They're like, oh no, you're gonna have to pay us, 6 figures. Like, what? You've already been paid. And this isn't gonna be a big money maker. So what the hell? So that check was never written. So we can't do anything with the film, unfortunately. We've shown a couple of not-for-profit art houses and film festivals, but we've not done anything with it. But what I did do is I sent it to Discovery.
Yeah.
He said, what else do you do? And I sent it to him, and the development director went, I know I can take this to. Took it to the development director at Investigation Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
But, he's telling stories about murder and mayhem, which is what we do, and they're all real stories, which is what we do. And he's doing it in a way that is different than what we do, and we need to expand because we've gotten this cookie cutter that is getting stale.
Yeah.
All of our shows are the same. So I said, yeah, I would love to do something with you guys. I said, but I need to be ghosted in the reenactments. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, what I'd like to do is I'll host it. I'll do the stand-up at the beginning and kind of set up the story. And then when we go into the reenactments, every once in a while the camera will pull back and I will be there as a ghost. I don't interact with the characters, but it'll be like a husband and wife are sitting at a table and then they're having dinner, and you hear me saying, they're having a lovely meal and she had a surprise for him. Unfortunately, she was the one that was about to get the surprise. And then the husband says, honey, I'm sorry, but I've been having an affair and I'm going to leave you. And you see her pick up the knife and start to stab him, and it pulls back, and I'm sitting at the other side of the table carving up a steak, and I look at the camera and say, well, this is where things took an ugly turn. And so that was a dynamic.
Very Greek chorus of you.
Yeah, and they said, this is so revolutionary. I go, no, it's not. It's actually, Rod Sterling, and a number of other things, but since you don't know your history, yeah, I'm a genius. I'm a creative genius.
As long as they pay you.
2 seasons of it. Yeah, we did 2 seasons of it,
mm-hmm.
and the numbers were good. The demographics were good. The advertisers were happy. It was an expensive show compared to the other shows. It was more expensive because they couldn't just slap it together in a day. It took more time. And the guy running the network didn't like the show. So when it came up for a 3rd season, he went, nah, I don't think so. So I ended up with a lot of material that I had been working on for season 3 and beyond. All these stories I found. So I started up a podcast called Abnormalcy, which is telling these stories, and they're quirky stories. And if you like things like the reason I'll be very honest about this, where I got the idea for doing a podcast was a friend of mine said, "Have you ever heard lore?"
Oh,
yeah. And I had no idea what he was talking about. And it had just started. It had been going for like about 6 weeks, 2 months. And I started listening to it, and I went, wow. I said, this is great. It's a little dry. It could be a lot more fun. Aaron Menke is brilliant, and yet he has a quality of, happy Sunday, now open your Bibles, and let's talk about Jesus.
That's a fair statement. Yeah, I listened to lore quite a bit, and then I started watching the show on Amazon Prime. But yeah, the Amazon Prime thing helped it a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah. And he's created a whole empire of doing all this stuff. And I thought, well, I could have a little more fun with it. And there's some little twisted things. So I started up Abnormalcy, and it's just me kind of putting things together and doing it. And I had a nice little clip going, doing it, and then kind of hit a snag because I met the folks at the McKittrick and was talking about projects. And all of a sudden, I became involved with a number of things that they were doing, and it kind of consumed all my my time. There's a rumor that there's in the McKittrick Hotel, there's a hidden seance room that is sitting there just waiting for someone to visit.
Oh, okay. So that'd be a great podcast room. I'm just saying.
So the end result is I spent a lot of time working on that, and then we unfortunately haven't been able to get the thing going. But so I kind of put Abnormalcy aside. I did finish the 13 episodes. The first episode is up of the second season, second 13. I've got one written up that I'm recording this week, and hopefully will be up. And it goes up on my Patreon page first.
All right.
Yes.
Which has a Patreon page, and for example, because I was looking at it earlier today, because it's like, all right, cool, check it out. Your top tier is hysterical. The $15,000 a month. You can subscribe for $15,000 a month, and you're 98.9% sure that you won't die by doing that. But on the off chance you do, he'll pay whoever your executor is.
You get a refund.
Yeah, so
you get that month refund.
That's amazing. I was half tempted to go, if I had $15,000 at least for 1 month, it would be hysterical because.
Yeah. So, but it's fun, and on that Patreon page, I put up for the folks that chip in. I do little videos, kind of telling, because at Normalcy are all real stories, but they're not about me. And I've done a bunch of videos that are up, kind of telling stories about awful things that have happened to me through the years. Because when you perform, invariably things happen. The more shows you do, and working out in Coney Island, we're doing 7, 8, or more shows a day, and 5 days a week back then, and that adds up very, very quickly. Things go wrong really quickly if you're not careful.
Yeah, so, I just put the link for the Patreon on the chat. So.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, and it's just a thing. And so what I'm going to be doing in the future is there's a whole slew of things that all of a sudden are coming about, not the least which is the new YouTube stuff, but also something I'm going to be doing exclusively for Patreon. We're going to do a nice little Zoom cocktail hour with some performance once a month for anyone who's on the Patreon page. And
that for that deal, because I looked at that too, because that's one of those things that's on my little list. That's not a bad deal for being a part of that. So I really like that too. So it's not $15,000 a month.
No.
I think it's like 30 or 40. So which is much more reasonable.
Yeah. Anyone, you can come in at just about anything, and it just, all it does is it's fun for me to be doing this stuff. It just kind of covers the cost, so my wife's not yelling at me, the way it works out is that there's 3 things that are happening on YouTube that I'm really focused on. Well, the first is this daily vlog, This Day in Darkness, in which I just kind of go through. Kind of the 27th is going to be fun. I just did the 27th and put it up to premiere on midnight of 26th, going to the 27th. Yeah. And there's some fun things. But it's amazing just the stuff that has happened on each day. So. And I'm just enjoying it. I'm still playing with it. It's still finding its own. And still the tech side of it is all.
Oh no! Yeah, I watched the Cape Man thing you did, and I really liked how you're doing it, because you're like literally just walking around, you're smoking a cigar, like at the places where it was all happening at. The only thing I was like disappointed is you didn't talk about the Paul Simon musical.
Yeah.
Because that was such a horrible musical. But
well, theater is such a roll of the dice, and there's so many of them. As a matter of fact, there's a really lovely thing, I think it's on Amazon or Netflix, called Bathtubs Over Broadway. And it's about the people who did industrials. And these are full-blown musicals that were done for tire companies, for the annual meeting of a tire company. And they would create, think of big musicals, the big sweeping love songs about treadwear, and production numbers about rotate your tires and all this stuff. And one of the writers from Letterman discovered these records that were made as souvenirs for, these were done for representatives of the company, franchisees and things like that at various companies. And they would make these records of these musicals. And he would find them in secondhand stores and thrift shops and whatever, and lawn yard sales, and he's become obsessed with it, and it's a really funny thing about just bad musical at its best. So you never know about theater. It can be, and someone said, "Hey, let's do a musical about a 16-year-old guy murdering a couple of kids." There's something to sing and dance about.
Oh yeah, the fact that it's Paul Simon did the music for it. That's
And Mark Anthony played Salvador Agro.
Oh, did he? Oh, I wasn't aware of that. I knew. I remember.
Yeah.
I was.
It's the kind of thing you hear about and go, hey, that would have been worth seeing. And then people went, no, it wasn't.
Oh no, I listened to the music because I was working in a record store at the time when it dropped. So they released the cast recording, and I listened to it. I was going because I love. Yeah, I went. And I go, no, I don't. I mean, like it's sometimes you can get like maybe if I saw the show I would get it, but even just the music on its own, I'm just going.
Well, you never, like I say, you never know. I mean, I would say to you something right now, and if you have no reference point for it, there was an SNL sketch in the early couple of years. I think it's just called Bad Musical Theater, and Dan Aykroyd hosted, and he was Leonard Pinskardel was the host of Bad Musical Theater. He said, "I've got a really bad musical theater," and it was about Van Leeuwenhoek, who invented the microscope. And it's with John Belushi playing Van Leeuwenhoek, and Lorraine Newman playing his wife, and then Bill Murray playing the lover of the wife, and it was just awful.
Yeah.
So several years ago, I'm hearing that there's this new musical coming, and it's about Alexander Hamilton. Who Alexander Hamilton is. I know about history, but who the hell is going to want to sing about Alexander Hamilton? He's actually, it's ruined a great little bar bet that I used to win free drinks with, in which when there was change on the bar, if there was a $10 bill, you turn it face down and said, I will bet you the next round of drinks that you can't name. We see things every day. We look at things, we really don't see things. Like, for instance, $10 bill. You've seen thousands and thousands of those through the years, and yet you've never really looked at it. And that's why I turned it face down, because I bet you the next round of drinks, you can't name the president that's on the $10 bill. And so when they and I said, and it's not just you, it's not just you, Geoff. You can use three of your friends there, and they can. And if you can't name, and I'll give you three guesses. And if you can't name the president that's on the $10 bill, you owe me a round of drinks. And if you can name it, the president that's on that bill, I will buy you drinks. As soon as you accept it, I've won. Is on the 10, and he was never president.
No, it's you can still pull that off. I mean, actually, the next step would be a $100 bill, and who's going to pay with a $100 bill at a bar? Because that's the other way. But no, you probably still can later on in the evening when people had some drinks. Just because they won't think about it. I usually just do because I'll.
Well, you can at that point you just lean over, you hug them, and take their wallet, and it's easy. It's just done deal. So.
I just do weird card tricks and mousetrap tricks, and that's how I score free drinks. So.
Sure. Yeah. Blockhead and glass eating.
I do. I love glass. Yeah, I do glass eating. Like I don't do blockhead because I have it hits my it just hits me in the right spot where it hits my gag reflex every time.
Yeah.
And I'm working on it, trying to get better at it, but it's just not my gig. Glass eating I do, and it's was it like earlier on. During the boob tube, which amazing Boobzilla had Phoenix Fire from Canada, and so he did the I'm Kind of Part. So because I know Todd Robbins is going to be on later on, I'm going to honor the thing that he really popularized, and so he did glass eating on the screen. So you were also already honored earlier on, and that's usually when I did glass eating, I usually reference you as well. So I can't bite into a light bulb, but I can do the other stuff.
There's a well-known in the magic community, there's a magician named Jamie in Swiss who used to live right across the street from me, a sleight of hand guy.
Okay.
And magicians would come in to New York and hang out, and Jamie had a favorite bar that he would go to. And some folks would come in, and in the 90s. And he would say, hey, so-and-so is coming in. You want to hang out? I said, sure. Because my background is in magic. That's how I kind of got involved in all this. And we would go, and they would bring out a deck of cards, and they'd do this, and then they'd do this. And, it was a lovely magical dick measuring contest. And invariably, they turn to me and go, so what do you do? And I'd say, pick one of the light bulbs, the fixtures above the bar. And they go, well, okay, with that one, unscrew it, and then bite into it. And that would be the end of the evening. No one would want to follow.
When you do the real thing, they don't want to follow that. That's
yeah. And it was funny because the bar staff all knew me in there, and there was, free drinks, and if there were any new staff members, they'd bring them over. They'd say, hey, come here, watch what's going to happen. Watch what's going down over here. So, it's a good thing, but boy, it's hard. Hard. And it's glass eating. I don't recommend it to anyone. And when I started side school in Coney Island, and it was the one thing I didn't want to teach, because
it's dumb. In the end, that's what it is. It's dumb.
Well, the thing is, if you're eating fire and there's air conditioning, wind, and it's wrong, you stop.
Yeah.
If you're swallowing a sword and it's going in the wrong place, you stop. But you eat glass and you swallow it, you have no control over it for about the next 2 days.
Yeah, yes, very true. That's why,
and so there's that aspect of it. And then there's also, the more you do it, the worse your teeth are.
Oh, I already have horrible teeth, so it's one of those. I already have bad teeth, so why not go into it? For concepts for him talking about getting into magic and the light bulb gag, for people who haven't seen that sort of stuff from him, I'm not asking him to do any of this. Watch American Carney. It's on Amazon Prime right now. I watched it earlier today again because I went, all right, cool. Todd's going to be on the show. I'm going to rewatch it again because I like when the pandemic hit, I went into this deep rabbit hole of watching all things weird sideshow stuff before I got started doing the shows. And so the things like I watched your show, and then I ended up watching like the AMC Freaks all through those 2 seasons. And it turns out I knew a lot of the people on that show that I didn't realize I knew. Like the amazing Boobzilla, who just popped up in chat. She was also in AMC Freaks, as was Fenix Fire, along with other people. But it's one of those. I just went in a deep rabbit hole. But yeah, people. American Carney is really good if you want to get an idea of what at least sideshow is today. It's probably at least the more traditional side of sideshow versus like the Jim Rose new wave of sideshow. But it's really fascinating. It's really fascinating. And a lot of people I know ended up being on the show, like James Taylor and like AJ. Mm-hmm. AJ, I bought a trick from AJ from Magic, and so I still use that today because we talked like an hour and a half about how to make it bigger. And so every time I do that trick, I go, I learned this from AJ, the original Ronald McDonald, and blah blah blah. I'll just do his big spiel for a second. But it was a fun moment there. And it all just came about. There was a guy I knew who wanted to get into filmmaking, wanted to do a documentary, and saw all the stuff I was doing and asked if he could do it. And I said, sure. So I'm sort of at the center of it, though it does cover a lot of people. Ken Hark, who is apparently taking out his Brothers Grimm sideshow next season. I saw that. I saw that pop up supposedly, and it's one of those. Yeah. Let's see how the world is. What the Great American Sideshow is actually touring right now, which is weird. But.
Yeah, well, Keith, who has that, is based out of Michigan, just outside of Detroit, and is not really a 40-miler, but close to it. Just does regional stuff in Michigan and Indiana and Ohio, and there are fairs that like. Screw it, we're gonna do it.
Those small towns, man.
Yeah.
I saw basically he's working the towns, and so which is still fine as long as he's making sure everybody's safe there. I'm okay with it. I would not be the one doing that sort of stuff because there's so many weird variables right now, and I don't want to be held responsible. Keith Stickley, yes, Hot Todd, he's the one who referenced for Brother Grimm. No, that's gonna be a good show. I know. The World of Wonders is shut down right now because they're trying to be responsible. Tommy's making sure that stuff's safe. Tommy Breen, for anybody's wondering, that's the guy who runs it now. Let's see, we got about 15 minutes. We can chat about anything. If you guys want to throw something on the chat, we can chat about, or we can talk about whatever you want to talk about, Todd. I think we hit the big spots. Patreon, go to YouTube, his doing things for the day.
Just sort of explain the 3 things that are on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, back to the other thing, yes.
Yeah, it's This Day in Darkness, which I talk about, just kind of quirky things that happen, bad things that happen. That's every day. I have one called Down the Road Darkly, which is I'm going to be visiting places. The first one is the Cape Man murders, which is right around the corner from you. That's what was the first one.
That's why it was first.
Hell's Kitchen. Yeah, that's in Midtown, and it was a awful murder that happened back in 1959. Then the next one up on that series, I'm going down to the seaport and talking about some of the awful things that happened there. I'm doing also a one on the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire at the building, still there.
Okay.
It's owned by you now. They have classes in there, which is creepy as hell. And then there's a bunch of regional stuff I'm going to do because I can't really get around too much. But eventually, as down the road, I would love to go everywhere. I'd love to come down to Austin sometime and find something freaky down there to talk about and walk around.
I got a thing you want to talk. How versed are you on the Kennedy assassination?
What was that?
How versed are you on the Kennedy assassination?
Well, which version of it?
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna tell a little story about this. So I was married, for people like that. My wife had passed away a few years ago. I would not be doing what I am doing now had that not happened. But she has an interesting family. She has a really interesting family tie to not only to the Kennedy assassination, but also to Hollywood, which gets really weird. So, and when the Kennedy assassination happened, Lee Harvey Oswald and stuff like that. But one of the conspiracies things had to do with the 3 vagrants that are on the grassy knoll. Now, for vagrancy, it just means you didn't have any ID on you. You can be dressed however you want, but like if you don't have ID on you, they'd either ticket you or arrest you for vagrancy. One of the people that was the vagrants was a man by the name of Charles Harrelson, aka Charles Boom Boom Harrelson, who back in the 80s ended up going to jail for killing a federal judge because he ended up being a hitman for like the Dixie Mafia. Charles's son, who was like a working actor, and like nobody actor, and then suddenly got on the biggest show of all time during that thing, one Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
So my wife is the cousin to Woody. And so that was her. Charles was her uncle, and she remembers as a kid going to go visit him in the prison, and all that sort of stuff. And so it's one of those weird. Unfortunately, like that side of the family, they don't really talk to because her mom really didn't like because they're her mom's kind of uppity and snooty, and so didn't want anything to do with that side of the family. But it's one of those fascinating weird facts, and so it's one of those. I'm trying to get better in contact with that family because I'm just fascinated by it.
Yeah, I love all this stuff, and then that's where it all kind of came from. When I grew up in a suburban area of Southern California, and my parents grew up in the Depression and fought World War II, and when they came out, they went to school and GI Bill, and they wanted safe, clean, quiet. That's what they wanted. They were 1950s.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
and start a family, and I always gravitated towards the fringe. I wanted to not be in the suburbs. I wanted to go downtown where all those old buildings were. Those little funky little shops where the old people were still running them, and the secondhand stores, and walk in there like, what the hell is, what's going on here? What's the story here?
Oh, yeah.
So that's, the sideshow was just and magic and all that. Loved all that stuff. And it's still to this day. I mean, this is really what I'm doing is I'm telling kind of weird stories. And the third thing on the YouTube, which I've yet to get this going because every time I sit down to do it, somebody else comes in and distract. It's called Deceptionations, and it's going to be telling kind of quirky, offbeat things, dark stories and things like that, and then doing some magic that kind of relates to the story that I'm telling, something that's kind of thematically the same. So that's and it's the most ambitious one. It's a little kind of
that's fascinating. I'm on board. I love basically it's like it's all the stuff I've always been into too. It's how I always was. So that's why when I discovered you were doing this stuff on YouTube, that's why I watch everything every day because one is just an everyday thing, and like every once in a while I'll make sure I share it so people can get into it. So yes, go to YouTube. Find Todd on there. He hasn't gotten enough viewers. You haven't quite got enough viewers yet to get the official kind of like YouTube
Yeah,
channel.
it-
So that's why. So you
yeah.
got to kind of find him for a second. And there's like a musician, Todd Robbins, as well, which is really weird. And there's like some weird motivational speaker that isn't you. But you can track it down.
There's Tony Robbins. There's a bunch of T. Robbins. There's Tony Robbins, who's the motivational speaker. There's Tim Robbins, the actor.
Well, there is actually a Todd Robbins musician.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah, and there is a Todd Robbins band. I know that because
But if anything, like worst from the worst, everybody, because I think most people are in the chat, like anybody's in the chat, just track me down from my social media because I share it all the time. So I need to make sure he's taken care of. Something like that.
As soon as I get the first episode of Deception Nations up, which is all about torturing witches. You know,
ooh, that's amazing. Yeah,
it's gonna be fun. As soon as I get that up, then I will have like all the pieces, and so then I'm doing a big push media wise, and everyone will know about it. And before I know it, you know, I'll have 1 million subscribers, and
I will do my part because I it's a lot of fun and I really dig it. And it hits all. At least it hits the buttons I like, so that's why.
There's also a secret channel that I'm starting up that I'm not the second channel.
We'll talk about that once we go off air, and you guys are just gonna be jealous. That's what it sounds like.
Oh, this will be fun. We have 4 nutty little dogs, Pomeranians, little fluffy dogs, and I refer to them as the 4 Pomeranians of the apocalypse.
You referred them today on the
Yes. Yes. So I, because they've been away. They were out. My wife was down at her dad's place in Virginia and took the dog. So I had got a chance to kind of get everything in shape and start playing with things. And now they're back. And matter of fact, one of them is snoring right next to me. And so the videos that we make, it just kind of crack us up. So soon the 4 Pomeranians of the apocalypse will be hitting YouTube, which will probably go viral immediately.
Oh, you got to make sure that's tied to your other channel because that's the only way you're gonna get. That's how it's gonna work.
See, I'm kind of hinting at also the fact that they're, you know, I'm recording this stuff and they're barking or scratching or growling, whatever. So there'll be like hints, like people will go, oh, you know, he has the 4 Pomeranians of the apocalypse. His dog. So yeah. So.
No, it's all. I can't wait for all. I mean, like even the Pomeranian stuff's gonna be amazing. I have a husky. He's now passed out on the ground floor right here. So
your husky poops larger amounts than all of my dogs combined, probably.
Oh, that's probably true. I've had friends with Poms, so I know how it is.
Yes. But they're little tyrants. They're you know, just run ragged.
All right, so Jeanette Andrews Magic is now on the chat. She says, just listen to the Son of the Hitman podcast, so interesting. I'll definitely check it out because that's always fun. I'm always like weird fringe podcasts where there's like true crime, dark stuff, sideshow, magic, whatever. I'm always big at. Oh, hey, we got a bot saying let's be famous. So give me a second. Let me ban him real quick.
Sure.
Because that's always fun.
Always.
That shows we're doing well because there's a bot trying to make us more famous. That means we're doing something right. So,
huzzah!
That's how I look at it. That's how I look. I go, oh, we're doing something right because they're throwing bots at us. That's because we're doing okay.
There you go.
So we're doing okay then.
We're bots. We're just nothing but AI. So
that is very true. You feed weird. Like weird ballyhoo into our things, and we'll spout something out from the 1930s. One of the big fun things I actually like doing for the other show, Devil's Hours, I always throw in a weird sideshow history moment, and I try. So right now, I've been centering it around. It's about the Harrelson connection to JFK. Interesting. I'm definitely listening to that. Definitely will because I probably know some more stuff than probably what's on there. Anyways, back to the Devil's Hour. I always make a point in the middle of the shows. I always talk about weird sideshow history that's right now is still based around Texas, and it's like anything pre-1950. Just because like anything after that, or most people are still alive, and I could probably chat with them. But I like seeing the stuff that breeds up, like, you know, the Hilton twin. I talked about the Hilton twins because they're originally English, but they lived in San Antonio for some time.
My wife's grandmother was doing the drunkard this old-time melodrama at the Texas State Fair, and was at the fair when one of the Hilton sisters got married. That was the big.
I know. Yeah, like it's like I thought about buying one of the tickets, which you can get in the paper, because I thought it'd be really interesting to have. Because that'd just be really weird. It'd be a weird thing to frame in my house, and that'd be pretty cool. But
amazing.
That's always fascinating. So I'm still trying. I'm trying to find more people who's like that. I just don't know. Like, do you have anything cool? Like what's the weirdest? At least this way, if you know anything weird, because that way, if I haven't talked about it, I don't want to talk about it.
Here's a little bit of sidebook show trivia that I was able to unearth, kind of put pieces together, and it was remarkable. I got on the phone and called James Taylor when this all came together. Called all the historians that I know.
Yeah.
There's been a story for a long time that there was a guy at the Chicago World's Fair of 1893 who ran the Streets of Cairo exhibit, and that was where they had belly dancing.
The original ballyhoo. Yeah.
And Little Egypt and Fatima and all that, and he would bring out some of the performers, some of the whirling dervish and a band, and they'd play on the midway there and attract a crowd, and it helped to sell tickets. And he didn't speak Arabic. They were all from Egypt and other places like Egypt. And he didn't speak Arabic, the guy that ran it. And so he had a translator, and he'd say, "Get these guys out here. I want to do that and bring people in." And the guy would go, "Delahun, Delahun, Delahun, Delahun," which is Arabic for hurry up.
Yeah.
And so they would come out, and he didn't understand what the hell the guy was saying. So whenever he wanted to do one of these performances, he said, I want to do that ballyhoo. Let's do that bally." The term ballyhoo came from that. Okay, I've heard this story. It's in print, the whole thing. Okay, I heard the story. Doesn't mean anything. Years later, I'm working with a woman named Jania Taylor, a female magician. She says, I know you love sideshow and all this. And she said, my great-grandfather coined the term ballyhoo. I'm like, yeah, okay, kid. That's I'm thinking, when your old Gramps, stub his toe and go ballyhoo, and that's no. And she said, oh, no, his name was W.O. Taylor, and he ran the Streets of Cairo exhibit at the Chicago World's Fair 1893. Kunta Kinte, I have found you. That I now have a name. Taylor. W.O. Taylor. Turns out he sat down with sociologists, I don't know, whatever, some sort of a historian, social historian at Columbia in 1938, and told the whole story. And so there is documentation beyond just her saying that. And I found the document, and was like, here's the story. Here's the name of the guy and how it all happened. So that's the origin of ballyhoo, of where that term came from. And yeah.
We're just about out of time as far as here live in the show, although me and Todd will probably chat after the thing. Maybe we'll invite some other people to chat with us. I don't know. Thank you so much, Todd. I so appreciate it. Oh yeah, I like anytime. Like, you're ready to drop something new, just drop me a line. I will make. It's like, whether it's here, I throw it on another show. I will make room, even if I'll figure out a way to if you. I'll throw your stuff every week on the channel if you want. I'm happy to do so. Thanks everybody for being part of the show. Go to patreon.com/Todd Robbins to be part of his Patreon, so you can hear his podcast. You'll do all the newer things. I actually looked it up. It's like $10 a month to be part of the Zoom Q&A when he does it once a month. Because I go $10 a month. Yeah, I could definitely do that. 15,000 is a little extreme, but I can do 10.
And coming up, we're going to be doing a online interactive seance.
Oh, I am so on board.
People meet the dead.
I will when that comes time, I'm gonna let people know, and because I'm gonna be a part of it, and I'm gonna be the "you're jealous if you're not here" sort of post, so you need to be there. No, it's a great thing to have you be a part of the show. We're about to end out, so Patreon, good like that. Go to YouTube, track down Todd Robbins. We need to get him over. I think it's 1,000 followers or subscribers to get him like locked in as YouTube.com/Todd Robbins. So
because we just want to take over the world of entertainment. That's all.
That's fine, and I'm happy to ride those coattails as much as possible. So You guys are cool and wonderful. People who know me, if you want to join in and hang out and chat for us, if you're up for it, Todd, if you want to chat with some people after off the air, I will share.
Plenty of time to get there.
All right, and then I will share the chat with the people I know I know will be down with it, and we will chat otherwise. Or if you guys want to, friend me on Facebook. You get my real name, which is Geoff Peterson, Geoff. Geoff with a G is not just a thing. I call myself Geoff with a G. It's because I used to go to bar. Like when my wife died, I started going out again, hanging out with people, and said, "Hey, what's your going out to bars because I like being around people." They go, "Hey, what's your name?" I go, "Geoff." They never remember that. I go, "Hey, my name's Geoff, Geoff with a G," and they always remember that. That stuck, and then that became my stage name. So I made it easy. So so Todd with the 2 D's.
Yes.
As our first email interaction was.
Yeah.
It's right here. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. We'll when new stuff drops, I'll have you back here. I'll throw stuff on Devil's Hour every week, and just try to get you more traction. And then scabs with the garbage. That's true. So you guys, thank you so much. Be safe, be groovy.